Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to go to a quite interesting collaboration beer actually. This one is a collaboration beer between the Celt Experience from Caerphilly in Wales and the Cat Brewery from Shanghai in China. So my very first encounter with a Chinese craft beer, and this guy is called Cat Scratcher Celt, and it's an American style amber ale, which is one of my favourite styles incidentally. So as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a very brief history of the two breweries involved here. It will only be a minute or two, but if you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. The brewery websites are in the description for you below, and just FYI, the Cat Brewery website is in English, so don't worry about that. So check out the links below as well to my other reviews that I've done from the Celt Experience, and hopefully I can add to that in the future, and also hopefully a few more Cat beers for you as well. So anyway, to tell you firstly about the Celt Experience Brewery. This is one of the first Welsh craft breweries, and as I said to you, they're from Caerphilly, which is just to the north of Cardiff in the southern part of Wales. Now the brewery is about 10 years old, and it was founded by a guy called Tom Newman, who was an avid homebrewer before turning professional, like many people are when they go into the brewing industry. But his brewing started in his dad's garage under the name Newman's Brewery, and apparently he learned all of his brewing prowess, if you like, through trial and error. But he was able to buy up some brewing equipment from the Smiles Brewery in Bristol after it shut down, and soon after he registered the name The Celt Experience and opened up at their current brewery in Caerphilly. So Tom decided to focus on the Celt brand, and he allowed the Newman's brand basically just to fade away over time, but he launched the Celt Golden, Bronze and Bledin, which were all originally organic beers. But in 2011 he decided to experiment with some different hops and malts, and so he completely dropped the organic mantra, and ever since he's done that, the company has actually grown very strongly. And I reviewed their beer, which was called Silures, before I went away to Australia and stuff, which was a really beautiful beer. So hopefully at some point I can actually have a look at some more of their beers, because the one I tried, it was beautiful. It was a big bitter blast, but it was a really beautiful beer, and I'm sure this one will live up to the same kind of accolade. So anyway, that's a little bit about the Celt Experience Brewery. So to Cat Brewery now. This brewery was founded in 2008 in Shanghai in China, and they now have 2 or 3 different locations in Shanghai, and they say that they wish to emulate the huge variety of global foods that are available along the American I-10 highway in their own restaurants. And if you know the American I-10, I think it goes from Texas all the way out to the west coast and things. There's a whole host of kind of global foods there, and Cat really want to introduce that in their restaurants, as I said to you. But the idea behind the brewery is that they want their beer to be designed to give the perfect kind of old world complement to all these foods, and they have a variety of styles of beer. They talk about English ales, German lagers, and the sort of New World American beers as well, and Belgian beers indeed too. So quite an interesting brewery that is particularly focused on food pairing. But their head brewer is a guy called Michael Jordan, not the big black guy who plays basketball, of course, but I think he's an American guy, and he hails from the American Pacific Northwest region, and he's won many awards for his beers as well. So yeah, quite an interesting little bit about the brewery there, and interesting to see that they've got an American brewer, and of course the Americans kind of really are the ones who've driven the real kind of craft beer revolution recently. But anyway, that's your brief history of the two breweries, if you like. So we'll get on with the tasting of this beer now. To tell you a little bit about the stats of it, it's a 5.8% amber ale, and it contains Citra and Mosaic hops. Apparently there are 2 other ones in it as well, but I couldn't find out what they are. It tells you a little bit on the side of the bottle here. It says cracked in Shanghai with Cat Brewery. The scarlet body possesses a pineapple-led aromas, for a long Celtic mythology has been mislaid. In the face of eviction, shape-shifting magic features deeply within the elements left to all. A restricted series of contentious, eccentric and paranormal beers, pugnacious by flavour, spirit and design, conceived by a Celt and designed by Chicago artist Sarah Ogden. So it's quite a nice one. This is part of the Shapeshifter series. I should have mentioned that with the Celt Experience Brewery. They have this Shapeshifter series, which is the name that they give to all of their collaboration beers, and the Celt Experience have actually brewed with Brewdog before, and a few other ones. If you're interested in that, go and check out their rate beer profile and you'll see them all listed. But it's a 5.8% amber red American ale, and brewed, as I told you, brewed in collaboration with Cat in Shanghai. It looks very nice. But yeah, it's this guy is a little bit out of date, but all my other beers have aged very well, I should say, while I've been away. There you can see the kind of Celt Experience symbol, and this is the bottle cap, the label on it actually. It looks very nice, and you can see the black cats on it there, so should be a really nice beer. We'll get this guy out and get on with the tasting then, so here we go. So as you can see, it's a little bit of a smoky opening, a little bit of bubbles coming out. You can smell the fruit off this just as you pour it. I'll just sugar up the last little bit and get everything out of it. So yeah, as you can see, it's poured a really nice sort of coppery amber colour. I'll just bring up the camera and check that you can see the artwork on this, or the colour of it I should say actually. It's a really nice dark red coppery colour, I think. I'm just trying to play with the camera there. As you can see, it comes out of the bottle crystal clear. If I put my fingers behind it, you can't see it really just on the camera just because of the colour, but it is transparent, you can see through it. There's a nice finger of a frothy, sort of creamy coloured head there. It's not completely white. It looks really good. There's a good bit of carbonation, just a little bit sticking to the side, a few big bubbles, but a lot of it going up towards the bottom of the head there. But the thing that you notice about this beer when you're pouring it really is the aroma. It's got a huge hoppy aroma in there. There's a lot of grapefruit and passion fruit coming out of that actually. Smells really nice, but you can pick up a definite big caramel malt base underneath there. But it's a big nose of tropical fruit coming out of this. I want to say there's a bit of pineapple in there. Sort of mix of pineapple and grapefruit, and there is passion fruit as well. But there's some orangey citrus I think too. And you can pick up the caramel malt base as well. It smells very nice. You can pick up just a little bit. The hops smell a little bit dusty actually. You can pick that up off it, but it might be just a teeny bit of skunk just because I've had the beer so long, I guess. But yeah, it smells really nice. Big tropical nose. Big mix of definitely pineapple coming out of that. Really picking that up quite well. Normally I struggle a little bit with the fruits, but I would definitely want to say that that's pineapple coming out of there. But there's a good bit of grapefruit on top, and you can pick up just a little bit of a sharper kind of a passion fruity note in there as well. But yeah, really big caramel malt base underneath it. You can pick up just a little bit of a pale malt character, but there is a kind of dusty feel to the hops in it. But anyway, without further ado, let's have a taste of the Cat Scratcher Celt from Box Cat in Shanghai and from Celt Experience in Caerphilly. Slàinte. Now that's really nice. Doesn't seem to have had any problem with the aging at all actually. Doesn't taste skunky in the slightest, so very impressed with that. Kind of shows that the key really is just to keep your beers in the dark and cold, and it works. But yeah, big fruity beer this one, definitely. It's got a really nice hoppy burst to it. It's a very hop forward beer, which is what you would expect from the Celt Experience brewery. Very hop forward brewery. But yeah, you've got a nice malt base in there. It's almost got a little bit of pale malt character, as I was saying, that you can pick up in the aroma a little bit. There's a nice pale malt, but then just on top of it you've got a nice big brown sugar and sweet caramel malt in there. Really nicely done. It's a little bit toasted as well. Yeah, really nice kind of sweet caramel element to it in there. Just goes up the middle of the tongue, but you've got a nice blanket of pale malt and sort of light bready character, and it is just a little bit toasted. But the main component of this beer, the more punchy element, as you would expect from the Celt Experience brewery, is the hops. Yeah, you get just this little oily bubble that moves towards the front of the tongue, but it's got a big dryness around the edges of the tongue too. I think there's a good bit of there's a little bit of aromatic-y character in there too that just gives the back corners of the palate a little bit of dryness, but you're getting a nice big passion fruit and grapefruit mix in there. The pineapple is a little bit, I can't really pick up the pineapple in the flavour, so maybe it's just a kind of odd ester or something in the nose, but it's the grapefruit and particularly the passion fruit are coming out in the flavour on this one. The passion fruit to me is always just a little bit sharper than the grapefruit. The grapefruit is a bit more of a kind of soury flavour on my palate, but as I always say, the flavours in beer are subjective, so you might think that the grapefruit's a bit more prominent than the passion fruit, but I'm picking up the sort of sharper element from the passion fruit. Yeah, I want to say there's a little bit of an orangey citrus in there, but it is quite mild. It really is the tropical fruit that's pushing forward in this amber ale. So it's definitely, you've got a nice kind of sweet caramel element in there, but this is a typical hop forward American amber ale. It's very, very well done, and if you do love your hop forward beers, just generally the Celt Experience are a brewery you want to check out. This beer is excellent, but generally, the Celt Experience really are a brewery that love hop forward beers, just in my experience. I want to say there's a little bit of aromatic-y character just around the edges of the tongue as well, and I'm sure with the Citra hop in particular, that's what comes out. I don't know what the other two hops were that they used in it, but a lot of American hops do have this aromatic-y feel to it. Mosaic, if I remember, I think does tend to be, you can get New Zealand mosaic hops actually, but it tends to have a bit of aromatic-y feel about it as well. Perhaps there is a little bit of an earthy character coming out of the hops as well, just as on the back corners of the palate I think there is just a little bit of earthy character coming out. That may be just a teeny bit of skunk or something like that, just because I've had the bottle so long, but I think it's aged very well because the malt base still comes out very nicely and the fruity flavours from the hops too, so I don't think that it's been too affected by the aging process, if you like, but I definitely think there's a bit of earthy or herbal character coming out of this as well, and that's a characteristic that's more of a characteristic of an English brown ale, if you like, or an English amber ale rather. But it's really beautifully done. I mean, you can talk about styles all day, but the most important thing is that the beer has some really beautiful flavours, some nice fruit and some nice malt base, and that's what you want from an amber ale. So in terms of the mouthfeel with this guy, it's definitely mid-bodied. It's got a very light carbonation on it, but it particularly suits the tropical fruits on it. It helps bring out the kind of sourish element of the grapefruit and the sharper element of the passion fruit in this one. But it's got a nice big oily mouthfeel, this, and you're getting a nice juicy element from the fruits, but at the same time it's got a nice lasting kind of dry bitter character. So it's very, very well done, and it has the typical feel that you expect from the Celt Experience brewery. I'm not sure exactly what the box cat beers are like, but to me this one has all the typical sort of hoppy sour and hoppy bitterness that you expect from the Celt Experience. So if you enjoy that and you enjoy hop forward beers, go and check out the Celt Experience, and it's a really awesome collaboration beer as well. I really want to go and try some more box cat beers so I can speak out about them a little bit more at some point, because this is an excellent beer, and if Box Cat Brewery brew in the same way, I'm sure I would really enjoy their beers as well. But anyway, as I've said to you, if you enjoy hop forward amber ales, definitely give this guy a go. Check out the Celt Experience Brewery from Caerphilly in Wales, and also the Box Cat Brewery from Shanghai in China. I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been cool to do another collaboration one, and of course have a first taste of a beer from mainland China, if you like. But as always, please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer below. Always interesting to read them. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and hopefully I can do more Welsh and more Chinese beer reviews for you in the future. Cheers!